Hello and welcome to another Company of Heroes 3 game. My name is Fancy Josh, and today I've got a game for you between Itaperuna as our Wehrmacht, and his opponent today is going to be Ares as our US. Half today is going to be Angeville Farms. We'll talk about that in just a second because I had a little bit of a late start on this game. Our German player has already locked in the Italian Coastal Battle Group, and he's already gone for the Coastal Reserves squad here. And adding on a scout vehicle next to quickly pick up some territory and going very hard onto this left side to capture this as much fuel as he can, as fast as he can. US player, on the other hand, opening 2 scouts into riflemen here. It does look like he's favoring that right side a little bit, but does look like he's going to pick up both sides of the map here. Our US player has locked in the armored battle group and has gone for veteran crews, so does have access to those Vet 1 Jeeps right out of the gate, and I do expect we're going to see a Jeep here. German player already throwing down some field defenses, making his life a little bit easier and allowing him to hold more territory here. Very cool. This player surprisingly not going for a Jeep here, instead choosing to continue into riflemen. A lot of times when you see folks go for this armored battle group, they like to go for that Jeep straight away. But no harm there. Might just see him go into motor pool later, and that would be exciting as well. Looks like the German player's thinking about sneaking into this right side here. Might find some riflemen, but actually just going to throw down a mine here. Start us off. Very cool. So for those of you that don't know, the Coastal Reserves get this defensive infantry bonus, right? So they 25% more accuracy and rate of fire while in cover. So this is exactly the type of fight they want, especially with 2 layers of them. Gonna fight defensively here, and that's also, why we're seeing him throw down more sandbags, at least more than you might expect from a typical German player. Scouts being driven back here by the Pioneers, and does look like the Germans going to secure control of this entire left side here. Now, map is Angeville Farms, right? So you've got these 2 victory points on the right side, so the US player is going to be happy about that, but both players ultimately are going to have the same amount of territory, same amount of income. There are some opportunities here for the German to try and sneak away this point here to cut his opponent off. See if that ends up happening, and we do see a Jeep on the field getting aggressive here, closing with this Coastal Reserves, and more sandbags and barbed wire going down here to make his opponent's life very difficult. Jeep barely escaping there. Did use that repair ability to survive that mess there. There's a self-repair ability. It only can be activated once every 2 minutes, so we're not going to be able to see our US player do that again, at least not for a couple minutes here. So I do sort of expect we're going to see some engineers, but first we're going to see an infantry support center here, so captain going to be on the field very soon. And I'm wondering if this is just going to be a super campy game, more mines going down for our German. US player was flanking with these riflemen, but they're going to find the mine back here. German player not responding to that. And a Luftwaffe company on the way for our German. And US player going for the fast deploy. So we could see a very quick Greyhound here. Doesn't have enough fuel, of course, for the motor pool. Needs about 10 more. So we're about 3 minutes away from a Greyhound, if that is, in fact, what our US player wants to do. I do like these moves from our US player, going around the problem, right? His opponent is very dug in here. Barbed wire denying him cover. Sandbags increasing his surface area there. So absolutely makes sense to get on the flank here. Now this is a favorable fight for our German, of course, but US player actually using these field defenses to his advantage. And a scout car on the way for our German player here, so this is actually going to be a little bit scary of a retreat path. Scouts are going to run away, same as the Pioneers, but Scout's not being focused down, so is going to be able to get out of there. Jaeger being added on here. Preparing for the inevitable vehicles from his opponent. And Rifleman now on a bad retreat path. Should make it out, but mortar going to help seal the deal there. So I love this mortar from our US player to barrage his opponent out of that cover. Scout vehicle taking advantage of the lack of units on that right side. And actually, our German player going for the Grulers here to increase his combat effectiveness at range with these units. So very interesting choice there. Not afraid of any vehicles. And it is true that these Jaegers are pretty early here. So not that surprising to see. US player does not have grenades here. The scout car doesn't have anything to fear. Not that he knows that. US player about 30 seconds away if you wanted to go for motor pool into Greyhound here, but doesn't look like that's happening just yet. Doesn't really have the manpower now that I'm looking more closely at it. So I think it was a little bit of a questionable decision. I mean, I like the mortar, and I like the rifleman, but if you're going for Greyhounds, and you're taking all these techs to make that work, perhaps this third rifleman here wasn't the right answer. I'm not going to judge him too harshly. I think we've all done something like that, and you know, he changed his mind, wanted some more infantry, and of course they're not working with perfect information like we are. So some actually pretty awful friendly fire there hitting those scouts, riflemen coming in. I'm surprised to see our US player fighting so hard for this point here. It's not super important here, but just willing to trade manpower back and forth here. And is going to drive his opponent back, but German is moving comfortably into this right side. Scout car just here to slow this down here. And a rather large force going to move in. Try to dislodge the German here. Grenades on the way for a US player. Sick of the scout car. Wants to deal with it exclusively with infantry. And it does look like both players are going to trade halves of the map here. So I think probably next... Well, I'm over here wondering what's next for a German. Feels like the artillery officer could be on the horizon for him. Very popular choice. We'll see if he wants to lean heavily into the defensive structures. US player being very aggressive here. Going way into his opponent's territory. Jaegers now on the scene to help out. US player just driving that scout car all the way back there. Is going to capture the major fuel point, but is losing quite a bit of territory on this right side. So ultimately this is a pretty decent exchange for our German. Mortar is in the area. Helping out at range there. Actually getting a hit over here. Scout car just chasing all these units as they retreat. Not actually going to finish the capture on this high value fuel point. So is going to be a little bit sad about that. Motor pool nearly completed, but with all these retreating squads, isn't going to have a ton of manpower to add on a Greyhound yet. And a second Jaeger on the way here for a German, so could see some Panzerschrecks from him in the very near future. Does have quite a bit, will have enough munitions by the time that happens. And about 20 seconds here, and I think we're going to see a Greyhound. Now, it's possible we see a Chaffee. I personally have been really liking Chaffee recently in my own games. I know they're not super meta, but they are super fun, and that's what matters to me when I'm playing, so... I can't remember what game it was, but I had seen a player go for Chaffee and then use them against infantry. It might have been the Lens versus Lemon game on Pacino Stalemate. And yeah, what a fun game that was. He was using the Chaffee as an anti-infantry and getting super aggressive with it, and it was just super fun to see that. It's quick scout car on the field here. Support elements on the way for our German. Is not upgrading Panzerschrecks just yet, but is upgrading the 50 cal, or I guess it's the 30 cal. Oh, it is 50 cal. 50 cal on that Greyhound there. Does look like our US player is finally going to get aggressive on this right side. German player has been allowed to have control of 3 victory points for a few minutes here, and a flak panzer on the way for our German player. That verbal wind is going to be pretty darn scary. Lots of mines over here. US player does not have a minesweeper, so is going to have to be very careful. I hope for our US player's sake he does not go in with the Greyhound first, despite how easy and common that is to do. One mine found here by the scouts. They might find the second one on their way out, but is going to pick up all this fuel here. But unfortunately for him, the damage has been done a little bit here, and is going to lose the scouts on the way out to that second mine there. Unfortunate loss for him. That's the advantage of two mines in the same area, of course. Looks like a Jeep met a similar fate over here, and I had missed it. Going down to yet another mine. So lovely play from our German here. Basically, they love to say mines win games, and boy do they. AT grenade coming down on this whirlwind to let these riflemen escape. They should make it out, although it's not going to feel good. Mortar also in a bad spot, but US player is capturing a whole bunch of territory here now. Bet two scouts in a bad position there. Upgraded scout car here with the AT package, chasing this Greyhound down. Greyhound not going to make it by the looks of it here. Scout car is going to find him again. And nice pickup by our German player, I'm assuming here. Assuming it doesn't miss. And it doesn't, so that's a dead Greyhound. Whirlwind actually in the base here, cleaning up one of the scouts. Oh, it was the captain there. Captain going down to the base charge here. And German player being very, very aggressive. US player having to hide behind his buildings here. Now, could see a Chaffee. Does have enough fuel. Should have enough manpower very shortly here. See if he wants to do that. I don't know what else he's thinking about. Could be, I guess we could see a AT gun, but it is going to be a Chaffee, which I think is a great choice. We do see that our US players added on engineers to deal with all those mines, but unfortunately for him, I think he's hit most of them. But the good news for our US players, while this has been happening, he has managed to secure the fuel down here as well as one of the victory points, and I do think this is a dead whirlwind here. That is not a cheap loss. 70 fuel here invested, and is going to trade out a captain, but I do think that this is a trade that our US player isn't going to mind. That said, German player has taken quite a bit of map control with all of this action. Scout car helping out against the Chaffee. Chaffee's going to bail out there. Probably get repaired up back at base. And German infantry moving into this area. Scout still on 1 health here. Could be found out by the looks of things there. Is going to move up a little bit before retreating to ensure his retreat path goes this way. So fine decision there, and does look like he's going to make it out safely here. Scout vehicle, recon vehicle being found out here by those riflemen. US player down to 300 victory points here, but still has plenty of life left in him. And verbal wind being added back on here for our German. So, if our German player had something like the Terror Battle Group locked in, I'd be expecting him to go for, save up for a King Tiger, right? That's really common to see players kind of sit on this these medium vehicles. Chaffee chasing this wounded scout car is going to get him despite the blinding shot there. Nice try by the scout car to stay alive, and a nice pickup by our US player there. So he's going to be feeling pretty good about that. Rifleman closing the gap with those pioneers. And things looking up for our US player here. These guys are not upgraded with Panzerschrecks, so should be totally safe. Is going to put the Chaffee on anti-infantry mode. And we will see it do a little bit of work here. It's not going to be anything breathtaking, as we're seeing there, but it's certainly better than nothing. And with the assistance of these pioneers, going to cleanly win this fight. Whirlwind on the field here. Pushing away these riflemen. Riflemen undeterred there, sitting on the point. Is going to finish that decapture. Here comes the Chaffee once again. Whirlwind knows about it and is going to back away there. And mine's actually being located here for a US player, so he's going to feel pretty good about that. Closing the gap with these... turning off the minesweepers, though. Very risky here. So he turned off the minesweepers. Oh, I guess he picked up the mine. What am I talking about? He did both. He picked up the mine with his engineers, and then he turned off the minesweepers. That's the A hotkey if you're using defaults like me. And it'll let him get more firepower out of those engineers. Engineers, of course, still losing the fight. And nicely done by the Chaffee, actually helping to win that fight. But with the movement of these coastal reserves, scout player is going to have to give this up. And a Scot for a US player, very interesting. So that's going to be good and bad, right? I mean, it's plenty good against infantry. He's going to eat an AT grenade for his trouble there. And looks like the Verbal Wind is going to want to take advantage of that, as well as these Panzerschrecks and a Marauder as well. Bringing up the rear here, so US player does need to be very, very careful in this situation. Fortunately for him, is going to see the Panzerschrecks before they become a threat here. And Martyr's just going to sit at max range. US player doesn't know about him just yet there. But this is actually very, very scary for our US player. I want to show the whole thing, but I can't quite fit it all on the screen. As our players approach each other there. Oh, man. Martyr plus Panzerfaust going to clean up that Scott. And now the Chaffee in danger here is going to back up. Looks like the Verbal Wind wants to get aggressive once again here. And German dominating this left side. Good news for our US player, though, is he is picking up some territory on this right side. So again, recognizing that his opponent is strong and trying his best to go around. Looks like our US player wants to move out of his base in force here. Potentially. So that's Scott. I mean, our US player didn't, explicitly know it. But, he should have recognized that his opponent was well and truly on, tier 2.5, which is to say support elements out of his Luftwaffe company, right? And it becomes incredibly risky to try and add on anything that isn't anti-vehicle, and you should recognize that your opponent is going to have anti-vehicle, and as we saw, the Scott going down to just 2 shots there was pretty freaking brutal. Nice use of the smoke grenade, smoke shell out of the Chaffee there, getting some utility from that unit. German player pushing back into this right side in a big way here. And sort of feels like our US player might want some AT guns potentially. AT guns can do well at this type of range, especially on this wide open side. I mean, you can see the Martyrs having great effect. Now, the thing about the Martyrs, though, is that they're excellent against, they're highly mobile compared to an AT gun. Nice smoke grenade covering this Chaffee there, but is still going to lose the scouts. US player getting aggressive here, not going to chase, though. Chaffee can't exactly support, and there is an AT gun on the way for our US player here. So, like I was mentioning, I mean, it's risky to go into this area given how wide open it is, and that's, felt like for a little bit there, our German recognized that his opponent didn't have any long-range anti-tank weapons, so the left side's going to favor him pretty substantially. But now that we're in this situation where German player clearly has more armor, I might be thinking about going on this right side, using the hedgerows, using the houses, to sort of cover that Chaffee just a little bit more. But German now moving in here in a big way, and does feel like our US player is very much on the back foot here. Down to 150 victory points. Rifleman going to close the gap here, but seeing so many mines on this right side that even if our US player wanted to go for this right side at this point, feels like it would be a pretty significant uphill battle for him. AT gun is on the field here, positioned way back there. Doesn't want to risk losing it to a flank from the infantry. I think that's a fine decision. AT gun might want to think about setting up here. Is going to get a nice side hit on this Flak Panzer. Flak Panzer actually probably going to take 2 hits here. Looks like it's going to be 3, actually, and the Riflemen have a chance of an AT grenade here. Is going to sprint forward, should get a connection. Not quite going to happen. AT gun going to drive back the Flak Panzer, but damage is done there. Chaffee getting aggressive on this right side, finding some infantry that all alone here. Good use of that tank, despite the fact that it's not for anti-infantry. US player is going to maintain control of his fuel after some little bit of back and forth there, but doesn't have any units in position to stop these these Jaeger from taking this fuel point. So, I know that this game isn't of my usual caliber, but I've really enjoyed this game. You know, I like to cast close games, and by the way, I'm not trying to call this game too early, but German players definitely in a dominant position here. But what I like about this game is, you know, we saw a different strategy from our U.S. player. We kind of saw what the weakness of it is, and you know, it's just kind of fun to see this from our German player too. So, I mean, I like the coastal reserves. I like the recon vehicle. I like the extreme use of mines, and I think we can all learn something from this game. So I am going to post it, and if you made it this far into the video, I hope you learned something like I have, and that you enjoyed this game too. That said, we got 90 points left for our U.S. player. Does have 70 fuel, is adding a AT gun here. I think that's a good decision even at this late stage. A tank risks getting shredded by those martyrs, whereas AT guns can do pretty well against this flak panzer. That said, though, these Jaegers finding the AT gun all alone here. Martyrs moving up to destroy the AT gun, and that's going to be an unfortunate loss for our U.S. player there. And I think that probably is going to seal his fate. There is a second AT gun on the field, so not over yet. Chaffee's going to have to get aggressive here, but Rifleman being shredded for not much in return. Smoke grenade going down to try and cover this Chaffee's approach, but is going to eat a martyr shell there at maximum range. AT gun also set up, being smoked off by those Jaegers there. Getting an attack ground through the fog of war there. Getting a connection as well, so lovely for him. Engineers trying to win this fight against the Jaegers, but are going to lose it pretty distinctly there. And Riflemen coming to support. Engineers might go down on the retreat. You know, on something else I'll say for our U.S. player here is I respect his decision to stay in this game. You know, I think a lot of new players in this game leave too early. And I know, you know, it never feels good to lose squads, and it doesn't feel great to be behind. But at a low level, your opponent is just as likely to throw as they are to seal out the game. So I do like this decision from our U.S. player. I mean, it is how you win games that you wouldn't otherwise win, right? So big push here. Martyrs are going to have to cross the firing arc of the AT gun, but Chaffee is going to take down the flak panzer there. AT gun getting a connection. Riflemen have the option to sprint here. Eventually get an AT grenade, and is going to get a second hit with the AT gun there. Pioneers trying to repair on the move there, taking extra damage from those riflemen while they try to repair. Actually going down rather quickly. But U.S. player has all 3 victory points here, so I'm seeing a light at the end of this tunnel. Maybe that's just copium, but this is what I'm talking about, right? I mean, he picked up a whirlwind there. Gonna really help him get back in. Now we do have the legendary Obese here. And Obese? Yeah, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. But it's the big old honkin' artillery. And it is on the field here. So I'm even happier now that I've continued this game. Because we're going to see some pretty substantial barrages here. Flak Panzer being added back on once again here. Now, I don't think there's a world where our U.S. player has enough life in him to make it to something like easy 8s. Although, I mean, it's not impossible. Minesweepers picking up even more mines here. That's fantastic discovery for him. Oh man, Airburst Mortar getting a great hit against this infantry. Scatter actually working advantage there. So lovely to see that. More mines being discovered. So U.S. player is aware of the threat on this side here. But unfortunately, our U.S. player is losing all of his territory here. AT grenade, not going to happen. Flak Panzer getting in position here, anticipating a Chaffee move. And yeah, you know, I was just praising our U.S. player for capturing all this territory, but unfortunately for him has lost it very quickly. Going to hit a second mine there? Is there a second mine there? Doesn't look. I thought I saw him place one, but it looks like it's already been destroyed. Rifleman capturing this fuel point, but yeah. German player is going to walk away. It does have control of the victory points here. And Chaffee not going to be able to help out against this Flak Panzer, so no way that these riflemen are able to secure that point. I think this is going to be the end of the road here for our U.S. player. Yep. What a fun game. Hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. And, yeah, like I said, I hope you all enjoyed, learned something as well. And I say that, and here come the infantry once again. Is gonna decapture it. Guys, I called it too early again. Oh my god, on 1 victory point, but that's a dead Chaffee. And, I mean, he's gonna have this point, but for how long? Can't believe I just called it too early, dude. I try not to. Grenade coming out. Oh, that's a satchel. He's gonna bail out of there. Neither player able to secure this point with the fog clearing, though. Gonna be really, really scary for our U.S. player. U.S. player is going in behind his opponent there, trying to take away. Obese is barraging, and we do see an Easy 8 on the field here. Getting in close with these Jaegers. First shell did connect with the Easy 8 there. Martyrs at maximum range, though. Easy 8 doesn't want to be there. AT gun is going to move up, though. Potentially get some hits here. Flak pans are way low health in the back there. And now these AT guns are in position. Doesn't have vision of the Martyrs, though. But is going to force him back. And Rifleman just holding this left side, so there is a world where our U.S. player is still in this game. I mean, he is still in this game. There is a world where he comes back, although it's going to be extremely, extremely difficult. And Easy 8 going to be repaired up here. And German fully withdrawing from the area, recognizing that he does not need to be aggressive here. Simply needs to survive. Keep his units alive. Now with that Obese, the artillery was barraging while that was happening. I guess it was here, maybe? Hard to say. Fighting position being thrown down, upgraded with a 30 cal so that he doesn't lose this point. But German moving into this left side here is going to find these infantry. But more riflemen coming, and the Easy 8 also rotating, but so is the Germans. So we're going to see a big old fight for this left side. U.S. player needs to not have all his eggs in one basket here, so I'm hoping for his sake he does capture that right side victory point while this is happening. AT grenade gonna find this Martyr there. Easy 8 holding down the territory here. German gonna move up. And machine gun nest going down for our German here, just making sure he doesn't lose that point now that he has it. And this game could get very crazy. if this game continues, it's gonna get wild. Easy 8 dueling with these Jaegers here. That's not a fight I'd want as the Sherman, but our U.S. player does not have a choice. He must win this engagement to stay in this game. Martyr moving up to engage the Easy 8. Riflemen do know about it. These riflemen over here losing the fight to the Jaegers. Riflemen going to have to change tact there and stop this point from being taken. We do see our U.S. player managing to secure this right side while this is happening. So like I said, doesn't have all his eggs in one basket. Easy 8 finding the side of this Martyr, but U.S. player doesn't notice. He's going to continue to rotate. Looks like he wants to take out this heavy machine gun nest. Love to see a satchel charge. Does he have munitions? He doesn't. But he is going to destroy that point there. Rifleman did go down on the retreat. Where'd that happen at? Yeah, I think it was right here. So going down to the chasing flak panzer there. Like I said, U.S. player, oh my god, barely not able to capture that point there. Engineers not going to retreat and are going to go down there. Satchel charge at the last possible moment. And this Easy 8 has to try and drive away the coastal reserves there, but the Martyrs are going to drive him back. And surely this is now the end. It is not. More riflemen on this left side going to take that point once again. So U.S. players still in this game. More riflemen on the scene. This guy's got to get out of here. And interestingly enough, Sherman just detonating a mine underneath these Jaegers, going to suppress them. Here comes an artillery barrage. Where's that going? Looks like it's going to our U.S. player's base here. And not going to connect by the looks of it. But yeah, look at those units for our U.S. player. It is not looking good here. Rifleman bailing out. Sherman on no health. Sherman going down. What a game. What a great end to that game. You know, I don't know. Would have loved to see that, that play that we saw at the end from our U.S. player, being sneaky, being aggressive, taking lots of territory. I'd love to have seen that all game long, right? I think there was an opportunity there for him to do that, but was more focused. He kind of got, tunnel vision on one side of the map, and, it happens to all of us. So, hope you guys enjoyed this silly little game, and I will see you in the next video.